In this video, I'm going to show you how to make jump up drum and bass drums and arrange them. Let's get straight into the video. So I've laid this out in an easy 8-step process, and step 1 is picking your BPM. So typically jump up drum and bass is between 174 and 180. The more aggressive it is, the higher the BPM. So let's just go with 174 for the purposes of this tutorial. Now the next step is to find a reference track. If you don't already have a track in mind, I recommend just going on Spotify, looking up some jump up playlists and finding a track that most resonates with you and your style. And then once you've done that, get it downloaded, and then what we're going to do is we're going to extract the drums from it, which leads us on to step 3. So there's 2 ways to do this. So you can use the new FL Studio feature, which is currently in beta. So I've got this track here, the one I'm going to use, which is Mosey Tell Me. And then what you can do is come up to this bit here, and you can go to extract stems from sample, tick drums, and then click extract. Now it's a little bit buggy at the moment, so I recommend just closing everything and just having this open and then clicking extract. And then after a few minutes, it'll extract something that looks like this. And then because we're on Ableton, you can just go ahead and export this as a WAV. Up here, export. And then you can export it as a WAV and just save it like here, for example. And then boom, export it. Or if you don't want to download FL Studio, you can use this website called lal.ai, and you can simply just drag in the tune here. It'll upload it and generate a preview. And then you can click this drum section, and then you do have to pay. Yeah, you can pay 18 quid here, and then you can download this. And 18 quid gets you 90 minutes of stuff. So now we've got these drums extracted, let's whack them into our DAW. Here we go, into our reference track slot. Of course, you need to make sure that the BPM matches your project BPM, which this one does here. And now we're just going to look for the drums where it sounds best. So to me, that sounds best. So let's grab this and drag it to the front. And let's just get the first 8 bars. And we're going to work with 18 bars for this. So now that's all sorted, it's time to add our own drums. So first we're going to start with the kick drum. So typically kick drums in jump up are super heavy. So listen to this one. It's like completely heavy and distorted. So I'm going to look for a kick drum here in my drum and bass kick drums. And I'm going to use one from my DnB production collection. So let's just have a listen. So that one sounds pretty good. Let's drag this one in. And let's just zoom in a little bit more. And because this is drum and bass, we're going to put this on the offbeat. So we listen to the reference track. So it hits there, as you can see. And then we can simply just grab this and do Control D. All the way to the end of the 18th bar, like that. And that's the kick drum done. Let's just do some level adjustments as well. So let's grab a utility and just turn the gain down until we hit -15 dB. There we go, -15 dB, perfect. So you should be going through your sample, your kick drum samples, and also you can use like Splice as well, just to find the heaviest kick drum you can. And don't worry too much about post-processing on the kick drum, just look for that perfect sample, because post-processing can get really complicated and you can often end up making the kick drum sound worse. But it is worth noting that sometimes your kick drum is going to sound different, and a good way to adjust that is to whack an EQ on it and then put a low pass filter on like this, and then you can simply just go through and shape the kick drum. So for example, your kick drum might not have any mid to high end and it might sound like that. But this one has got all the elements in, so let's just leave that like that for now. So now you've got a kick drum. Step 5 is all about getting the perfect snare or clap. So let's listen to our reference track. So that's quite a heavy snare. So what we're going to do is go onto Splice and type in snare, and then just go through the samples until we find one that sounds similar. I quite like that one there. So let's drag this into our snare slot. So we can close the kick group up, open the snare group, and go to snare here, and there we go. And then this is going to happen on the 2nd and 4th bars, like that. So let's unmute it. So that's super loud, so we need to turn that down with a utility. Let's make it a little bit quieter than the kick drum. -18 sounds good. Then we could do the same again, Control D, all the way across to the 18th bar. Oops, a bit farther. And there we go, we've got a kick and a snare set up. Now step 6 is all about adding hi-hats and cymbals. So let's listen again to the reference track and then determine what ours needs. So it sounds like there's like 2 or 3 different types of cymbals and hi-hats going on there. So let's close the snare group, open the hi-hat group, and then let's add in our percussion. So I'm just going to go to my sample pack again. Let's close that. And then we're going to go to open hi-hats and just go through them. So to me, hat 13 there sounds good. Yeah, it sounds most similar in style. So let's go in, and we're going to add this every single beat. And then of course we need to add a utility just to turn it down. And let's get the volume nice and low. So yeah, 24 sounds good. And then what I'm going to do is adjust the ending of each one like this. Just a little bit. Just to give it some variation. Maybe not that much. And then also what I'm going to do is send the open hi-hats to the reverb channel here. So let's do it all the way and then reverse back. Something like that, just to give it more movement. So what I've done here is essentially just sent the hi-hat to the A reverb channel, which is a send on Ableton. And it's got a reverb and an EQ on it. And then this is the send channel here. So this one goes to A, this one goes to B, this one goes to C, this one goes to D. And they are called return tracks. So if you need to look up a tutorial on that, just type in how to add a return track in Ableton. So there we go. Now let's add another hi-hat. So this is going to be the hi-hat you can hear happening less frequently, and it's like halfway between each bar. So let's go through them again. We're just looking for something snappy for this bit, and then we're going to add it here. And then just keep adding it like that. And then we can just, oh, that's in the wrong place, just there. And then we can just copy these across. So let's see what this sounds like. Let's turn it down as well with another utility. See if we can do a little bit of reverb. Now let's compare it to our reference track. It does feel like there's more movement going on there. So what I'm going to do is add a ride underneath. And then I'm going to turn it really down just to see if that gives it some extra movement. Let's try this one. This is quite low endy. So let's put this in the ride slot. And then let's just duplicate this. So let's add some reverb. And then a utility and just turn it down massively. So really in the background there. And then we've got our drum setup. Now it's all about sound section, how this sounds. This is like the basics to a drum pattern, but your sound selection and how it works with the basses and the vocals and everything else is going to be the most important part for whether or not it sounds good or bad. So it's going to take a lot of trial and error, putting in different drums, switching them out, and just keep on going until something sounds banging. But there are other things you can do to make it sound fat. So I can add a drum bus to the drum bus. Now, if you're not on Ableton, you can use Saturn, FabFilter Saturn instead. But listen to that. And the harder I want it to go, the more I can add. But I typically don't go over 20% on any of these here. Let's try medium. That sounds pretty cool. Now this hi-hat's still quite loud on number 2, so let's turn it down a little bit more. Then I could always change out this hi-hat later on if I feel like it doesn't fit that well. So now we've done that, step 7 is about adding additional percussion and effects. But it's not really possible to do that until you've added the bass and any vocal phrases and any instruments going in. Once you've added all that in, what you can do is find little gaps and then add in different things. So you could add in like a shaker or like a crash at the start of the drop if you think it needs it, or different types of percussion, which you can see all down here, or a tom, or a cowbell if you think that would fit in somewhere. And then there's just like miscellaneous things as well. And then you've got all these one-shot effects that you could add in. And you can just get a bit crazy with this and add them in between little spots where you think it would help give the track more movement and help it feel like it's progressing. And you can also add them in later on. So I could have like none in the first 16 bars and then add an effects one-shot in the second 16 bars and then another one in the next 16 bars and so on. So now we've done that, we're just on to our last step, which is transition phases. Now I like to have a transition at the end of the 8 bars, a short transition, and then a longer transition at the end of the 16 bars. So let's just listen to the drums and see what we can come up with. So normally I do something with the kick drum, so like. So let's just see what we can do. Something really simple like that, and you can maybe add in like another snare. So let's see what other snares we've got. just add a utility again, turn it right down. And you could even like maybe not, just one sounds pretty good. And you can even add like a reverse crashing. So like, let's go to crashes. Let's just add this in the percussion group. And then we've got like the percussion, and then we can add a utility onto it. So I just pressed R to reverse this and turn this right down. And you see you're just building up and adding stuff and creating movement within the track. And we could duplicate this for the 18th bar. And then what I normally do is make a longer one. So I could make it 2 bars long or even 4 bars long. So let's just try a 4-bar one for the sake of it. We can like make this go crazy. So something like this. And then obviously it depends what the basses are playing. And then you've got some sort of transition. And then of course you could add like more risers in here. So like a longer riser starting at the very start of the transition phase, and even like a second one. And then maybe like another snare in the background building up behind it. And you just got to get creative with it. So that is my process to making heavy jump up style drum and bass drums. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like. Let me know in the comments what you'd like to see from me in the future. Make sure to check out my website. There's the drum and bass production collection to get your hands on. It's literally stacked with samples and tutorials to help you make drum and bass drops. For example, like this in this video here. And also there's a coaching session on my website, so check that out as well. And thank you all for watching. I'll see you all in the next one.